The businessman's voice exploded through the crowded bus. Are you kidding me? A one-armed freak collecting tickets? What kind of pathetic excuse for a transit system hires disabled rejects who can't even do their job properly? 82-year-old Henry Martinez stood in the aisle, his left arm in a cast from a recent fall, struggling to punch tickets with his good hand while passengers stared and some laughed. None of them saw the small bronze star pin hidden beneath his worn conductor's vest, or noticed the quiet man in the back seat suddenly look up with sharp, interested eyes. What happens next will restore your faith in humanity. If you believe our veterans deserve respect no matter what job they do, hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments, have you ever seen someone stand up for what's right when it mattered most? This story will give you chills. Henry Martinez had been driving the Route 47 bus for 12 years, ever since his wife Rosa passed and he needed something to keep busy. At 82, most people would be retired, but Henry liked the routine, liked helping people get where they needed to go. 3 weeks ago, he'd fallen off a ladder fixing his neighbor's gutter. The broken arm meant he couldn't drive, but the transit company let him work as a conductor until he healed. It wasn't easy punching tickets and making change with one hand, but Henry made it work. Today started normal enough. The morning rush crowd filed on, office workers, students, elderly folks heading to appointments. Henry smiled at each passenger, slowly collecting fares and punching tickets despite his cast. Then Marcus Webb got on the bus. Webb was the kind of man who wore expensive suits and thought the world owed him everything. He climbed the steps talking loudly into his phone about some business deal, barely glancing at Henry. "Ticket, sir," Henry said politely, approaching with his punch and fare box. Webb held up his hand dismissively, still talking on his phone. "Yeah, I told them the deal closes today or we walk. These people don't understand who they're dealing with." Henry waited patiently. When Webb finished his call, Henry tried again. "I need to see your ticket or collect your fare, sir." Webb looked at him like he was something unpleasant stuck to his shoe. "What's wrong with your arm, old man? Just a break, sir." "Healing up fine. Your fare, please." Webb noticed the struggle Henry had manipulating the ticket punch with one hand. "This is ridiculous. They've got a cripple trying to do a job that requires two hands." Several passengers looked up. The bus was getting crowded, students heading to the community college, workers going to their shifts, elderly passengers with shopping bags. Henry's face reddened slightly, but his voice stayed calm. "I can manage just fine, sir. $2.50 for your fare." $2.50? Webb's voice got louder. "For this piece of junk bus with broken-down employees? This is exactly what's wrong with public transportation." A teenage girl offered to help Henry with the ticket punch, but Webb wasn't finished. No, Webb said, standing up so everyone could hear him. "This is perfect. This is exactly the kind of half-assed service we get when we hire people who can't do their jobs." Henry tried to move on to other passengers, but Webb followed him down the aisle. "Look at this guy," Webb announced to the bus. "One arm doesn't work, probably collecting disability while taking a job from someone who could actually do it right." An elderly woman tried to defend Henry. "Sir, he's doing his best. Maybe you could show some compassion." Webb spun on her. "Compassion? Lady, this is the real world. When I pay for a service, I expect competence, not some charity case stumbling around making everyone wait." Henry continued collecting fares, his movements slower now, more careful. The cast made everything difficult, and Webb's harassment was making it worse. "This is taking forever," Webb complained loudly. "In the private sector, we'd fire someone like this on day one. But no, government jobs protect the useless ones." A young mother with 2 small children looked uncomfortable. "Sir, please keep your voice down. You're scaring the children." "Good," Webb shot back. "Maybe they'll learn early that participation trophies and pity jobs don't work in the real world." The bus driver, a middle-aged man named Carl, glanced in the rearview mirror. "Everything okay back there, Henry?" Before Henry could answer, Webb exploded. "No, everything's not okay." "Are you kidding me? A one-armed freak collecting tickets?" What kind of pathetic excuse for a transit system hires disabled rejects who can't even do their job properly? The word freak hit the bus like a physical blow. Several passengers gasped. The teenage girl who had offered to help looked like she might cry. Webb wasn't done. "This is America, people. We used to have standards. Now we're so worried about feelings that we put incompetent cripples in jobs they can't handle." Henry stopped moving. His good hand gripped the ticket punch tightly, and for a moment, those who were watching closely saw something flash in his eyes, not hurt, but something harder. "Sir," Henry said quietly, "I'm just trying to do my job." "Your job?" Webb laughed cruelly. "Your job is to slow down everyone else because you're too proud to admit you can't cut it anymore. How old are you anyway? 80? 90? When are you people going to accept that your time is over?" The bus had gone completely silent except for the rumble of the engine. Even the children had stopped talking. "You want to know what's really pathetic?" Webb continued, enjoying his audience. "It's old, broken down has been like you taking up space, collecting paychecks you don't deserve, making the rest of us wait while you fumble around with one working hand." Henry looked down at his cast, then around at the faces staring at him. Some looked sympathetic, others embarrassed. A few seemed to agree with Webb. "You're right," Henry said softly. "I am old. I am slower than I used to be. And yes, this broken arm makes everything harder." Webb smiled triumphantly. "Finally, some honesty. But you know what?" Henry's voice got stronger. "I've been working since I was 14 years old. I've never missed a day unless I was sick. I've never taken a government handout, never asked for special treatment. I work this job because I need the money and because I like helping people." "Helping people?" Webb scoffed. "You're holding up the entire bus." "Maybe I am," Henry nodded. "But at least I'm trying to help. What are you doing except making everyone's morning worse?" Webb's face turned red. "Don't you lecture me, old man. I pay more in taxes in 1 month than you probably make in a year. I contribute to society. You're just dead weight." The cruelty of it made several passengers shift in their seats. But Webb was on a roll now. "You people need to face facts. Your generation is done. You're holding back progress. Every day you stay in these jobs is another day a younger, more capable person can't move forward." Henry stood there taking it, his dignity intact despite the public humiliation. But in the back of the bus, a quiet man in his 50s had been listening to every word. The man stood up slowly. He was average height, unremarkable looking, wearing a simple gray suit. But there was something in his posture, something in the way he carried himself, that made people notice. "Excuse me," the man said, his voice carrying clearly through the bus. Webb turned, irritated at the interruption. "What?" I said, "excuse me. I need to get by." The man moved up the aisle with the confident stride of someone accustomed to being obeyed. As he approached Webb, something about his presence made the businessman step aside. The man stopped directly in front of Henry Martinez. "Henry Martinez?" the man asked quietly. Henry looked up, surprised. "Yes, sir?" "Staff Sergeant Martinez first. Infantry Division?" The bus went dead silent. Henry's eyes widened in recognition and shock. "General Patterson?" Henry's voice cracked. "Sir, what are you doing here?" Without hesitation, General Michael Patterson snapped to attention and saluted Henry Martinez with the precision of a career military officer. Every person on that bus watched as a general in civilian clothes showed the kind of respect to the old conductor that Webb had spent 10 minutes denying him. "At ease, Sergeant," General Patterson said, but his voice carried the authority of someone who commanded armies. "I was heading to a meeting downtown when I heard someone disrespecting One of my soldiers. Webb's mouth had fallen open. Your soldier? General Patterson turned to face Webb, and suddenly the businessman looked very small. Sergeant Martinez here served 3 tours in Vietnam. He was my squad leader during the siege of Firebase Charlie. In 1969, this man saved 17 American lives during a mortar attack that lasted 8 hours. The general's voice filled the bus like thunder. While you were probably in diapers, Sergeant Martinez was carrying wounded soldiers through enemy fire. He took shrapnel in his back doing it. That's why his left shoulder never healed right. That's why his arm breaks easier now. Webb tried to speak, but no words came out. General Patterson continued. You called him a freak. You called him dead weight. You want to know what Sergeant Martinez did after Vietnam? He came home to a country that spat on him, worked 2 jobs to support his family, never complained, never asked for anything he didn't earn. The general stepped closer to Webb. You asked what he contributes to society. Sergeant Martinez has been volunteering at the VA hospital every weekend for 20 years. He reads to blind veterans, helps amputees with physical therapy, and holds the hands of dying soldiers who have no family. The bus was so quiet you could hear people breathing. You said his generation is done? The general's voice got harder. His generation built this country. They fought for your freedom to stand on this bus and humiliate a better man than you'll ever be. Webb had gone pale. I didn't know ... You didn't know because you didn't ask. You saw an old man with a broken arm and decided he was worthless. You want to know worthless? Worthless is a healthy man in expensive suit who spends his energy tearing down someone who's given more to his country than you've given to anything in your entire life. General Patterson looked around the bus at all the faces staring at them. Sergeant Martinez earned a Bronze Star, a Purple Heart, and 2 Presidential Unit citations. He's also earned the right to work any job he wants, for as long as he wants, without being harassed by people who've never sacrificed anything for anyone. The general turned back to Henry. Sergeant, how much longer on the cast? 2 more weeks, sir. And then? Back to driving, sir. I like the work. General Patterson smiled. Outstanding. Sergeant, it was an honor serving with you then, and it's an honor seeing you serve others now. He looked at Webb one more time. As for you, I suggest you spend the rest of this ride thinking about what kind of man you want to be. Because right now, you're not measuring up. The general moved back to his seat, but the bus stayed silent. Webb looked around at faces that had gone from entertained to disgusted. The teenage girl who had offered to help was looking at him like he was something toxic. Henry quietly resumed collecting fares. But now, every passenger made sure to look him in the eye, to thank him personally. Several asked about his service. The young mother asked if her children could shake his hand. Webb sat down heavily, his arrogance completely deflated. When his stop came, he walked to the front in silence. As he passed Henry, he stopped. Sergeant Martinez, he said quietly. I'm sorry. Henry looked at him for a long moment. Mr. Webb, we all make mistakes. The question is what we do about them. After Webb left the bus, Henry continued his rounds. But something had changed. Passengers who had been strangers started talking to each other. The teenage girl asked Henry about Vietnam. The elderly woman shared stories about her husband who had served in Korea. General Patterson got off at the government center downtown. Before leaving, he shook Henry's good hand. Sergeant, it was good to see you again. You too, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Henry, for your service then, and for your service now. The video of what happened on bus route 47 that day was recorded by multiple passengers. But it wasn't the humiliation that went viral. It was the moment when a general reminded everyone that heroism often wears ordinary clothes and sometimes needs help punching tickets. Henry Martinez still works for the transit company. His arm healed and he went back to driving. But he also kept conducting on his days off, because he discovered something that day. People need to see that dignity and service come in all forms. Marcus Webb never rode Route 47 again. But he did start volunteering at the VA hospital. He never told anyone why. But the volunteers there say he's particularly good at reading to the blind veterans. Sometimes it takes public humiliation to remind us what real strength looks like. And sometimes the person getting ridiculed for being weak is actually the strongest person in the room. He just needed someone else to help everyone else see it. General Patterson retired from active duty that year, but he still rides public transportation whenever he can. Not because he has to, but because he learned something that day too. Heroes are all around us, punching tickets and driving buses and doing 1,000 other jobs that keep the world running. And every single one of them deserves our respect.